What's up, mortgage coach? Dave Savage sitting down with Rich Harris. I think this is the first time I know this is the first time I've interviewed Rich for the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. He is someone that we've been consulting with around, just how do we reinvent the mortgage experience for lenders and for loan officers so that they are the captain of the wealth team. They are the most valuable advisors and consultants, and how do we do it in a way that really serves the consumer? So Rich, good to have you here. Looking forward to interviewing you for this article that I'm writing with Kristen.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, right on. So for everyone, this is a series that I'm doing this week where Kristen and I are interviewing leaders, most of them in the space. Rich is outside the space, and we want to write this article. It's going to be called the 2022 State of the Mortgage Industry Halftime Report. So I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never seen a market like this. Usually when we have a shift like this, it's bad. And we're just like, how do we not die? But this is a shift where there's no doubt there's been a massive shift in the market and it's creating a struggle for everyone. But there's some real opportunities in this market to gain market share and to still do quite a bit of business today. So Rich, before I start asking the same questions I'm asking everybody else as part of this project, could you just give us a minute on your backstory and where you come from?
Sure, happy to do that. So I've been in the technology industry for a long time. I would say going back to 1997. Most of my focus has been on data analytics and insights, and in the advertising technology and marketing technology world. So most recently, I ran a company called SparkPost, which we sold to MessageBird, where most of our applications were focused on marketing technology. Before that, I was involved with a company called AddThis, where I was CEO. We sold that to Oracle, and that was focused on data and insights for the advertising technology world. So that's kind of where I've been focused.
So mortgage industry, whether you're a C-suite executive or you're a loan officer, we need to go outside the space if we're going to innovate. And I can assure you that when you think of Rocket Mortgage, you think of Zillow, you think of the disruptors. They know MarTech well, they know data well, and they have guys like Rich consulting, advising on how do they get their piece of the pie. So listen up to what Rich has to say. So Rich, I want to end up, there's going to be 3 chapters to this conversation. I want to end up with opportunities, like given the data, given the trends, what are the opportunities in the market for lenders and for loan officers? But let's just start with data, things that are, brutal reality, the market we're in today. What are 3 of the biggest data points that you think are impacting mortgage in today's market?
Well, it's all you have to do is look at the newspaper, right? I mean, so of course you've got the rising interest rates, and these are not just rising rates around the mortgage industry, but it's overall inflation, right? Everything is getting more expensive. This is really impacting the consumer. It's causing a lot of volatility in the market. And I think in that situation, you have people that are nervous and they're concerned. And they're wondering what's going to happen next. What's the next event that's going to occur? You've got Ukraine on top of that, right? Which is very, very disruptive, not only to the marketplace, but to people emotionally, and in some cases from a career perspective. And I think that those sorts of disruptions in the marketplace are really top of mind for people. And they're also coming right out of COVID, right? So you kind of mix all those different things in. And I think you've got a situation where people are concerned. And this, from my perspective, is truly an opportunity when you have a relationship as a brand, whatever your brand is, right, with a consumer. It's an opportunity to engage with that consumer and try and help them in some way. So those are some of the things that I have top of mind.
Well, I love this project I'm doing because everybody I've asked, some CEOs, some consultants, some top producing loan officers, and everybody has answered that a little differently. And I'm just, again, it's going to help me write a very robust article with Kristen. I'm just going to try to pull one more data point. If there was another data point that leads to the opportunities in the market today, anything else come to mind?
I think another really big one is the way people work and live is fundamentally changed post-COVID, right? So you have the distributed workplace, the work from anywhere, You have people that are shifting, they're moving away from urban centers. They want to live life differently. They're realizing that being present with their children, having time to be able to pursue their interests and hobbies is something that is important to them. They no longer want to commute. And so what do you do with that? How do you communicate with people? How do you engage with people in this new world? And there really has been a shift. It's accelerated. My estimation would be 10 or 20 years due to the COVID change, in a matter of, let's call it 2-3 years.
Wow. So wait a minute. Let me make sure I get that. You're saying that we might see 20 to 30 years worth of change in terms of digital disruption in 3 years.
I think we've already seen 10 years worth, and we're going to see another 10. There's just no question. I've already seen it as someone who's been working in the digital communication space. I've seen the actual data underpinning the adoption of digital communication formats such as WhatsApp, Instagram, Line, around the world. And the curves are incredibly steep. They're off the chart. You saw that with Zoom, right? We're using Zoom right now. Zoom has become ubiquitous. It's become universal. Before COVID, and this is not any big news to anyone, but before COVID, it was really kind of esoteric and something that was not used very commonly. And now it's literally, you can Zoom with your 90-year-old grandmother and your 5-year-old, niece or nephew or whoever it is. Everyone does it.
Yeah, no, good point. Grandma loves Zoom, and we're
Yeah.
never going back to where we were.
Right.
Guys, I want to connect the dots to something that I have a feeling is going to make this article that Kristen and I do. But this digital age shift that we're in, I don't think there's much debate that it radically got started in 2007. And guys, this is where we're at right now. We're in this period where there's a lot of platforms. Consumers have a lot of platforms to buy, finance real estate. Loan officers and originators have lots of platforms to buy new real estate. And there is a time when it radically gets simpler. And Rich, when I put this slide together a couple of years ago, my logic here was 20 years is 2 cycles of Moore's Law, and Moore's Law is every 10 years, we get 50 years of technology innovation. It's just like a snowball rolling down the hill, it gets bigger.
Yes.
And I'm with you. I do agree from what I see personally in the interviews I've done that COVID was at least a 10-year accelerator, although I think it's more. But do you think it's going to accelerate even more? Because COVID was just such a radical accelerator.
I do think it's going to accelerate more because it's given people a taste, right? So one example would be no longer having a commute, right? And then that forced people to set their home office up. Now I have a ring light here. I've got a 48-inch monitor. I've got this whole setup. Well, then that creates the opportunity to be able to do new things with technology. You have a home studio, you have a better experience. And then people start thinking about, well, what else can I do, right? Can I start to communicate using WhatsApp and some of these other digital channels with my customers? And that is actually happening now, right? So and this is something the mortgage industry needs to start thinking about because other industries absolutely are. When you have a customer who wants to communicate using a particular channel, you need to be able to do that, right? So how do you set yourself up? If someone wants to communicate with you using Instagram, how do you set yourself up so you can do that effectively?
Yeah, agreed. Well, let's go to chapter 2, and that's trends.
Yeah.
And I do think you just laid out trend number 1,
Right.
which is that's a trend. But what are some other trends that you think are creating incredible opportunities for lenders in this market?
Yeah. So one huge trend for sure, and I've seen this occur over the last, let's call it 10 to 15 years. I was in the ad tech industry, and the ad tech industry was probably one of the most forward-leaning industries when it came to collecting information on the consumer, trying to understand the consumer better so that you can then personalize offerings for that consumer and engage with them. And they proved that it works, right? There's a reason why Facebook and Google and some of these other companies have the market capitalizations that they have, is because the advertising on those platforms was so effective, all driven by data and the insights that come out of that data. I saw that then start to move into the MarTech ecosystem. You know, one of the primary ways that brands communicated and marketed to their consumers was through email. And it used to be kind of a spray and pray method where you would have an offer, you'd send it out over email, you wouldn't really put a lot of intelligence behind it, and you would find out that people kind of get annoyed, right? They may not want to receive all these different offers. But over the last 5 years, I would say there's been a huge shift now in the marketing technology stack where data and insights are getting integrated. The brands are starting to use much more personalized offers, starting to understand what that consumer has purchased in the past, what that consumer actually is interested in the future, and tailoring those messages so that it actually helps people improve their lives, save them time, save them money, right? And then that creates that customer loyalty, that brand customer relationship, which is so valuable and can be long lasting as opposed to transactional. That needs to come to the mortgage industry.
Yeah, and I would just push every CEO, and I want you to be real honest, and I want every loan officer to think about this, is when you think of, you know, how does the service and experience you deliver really save time for that family? And guys, to say, oh, we close loans in 7 days, oh, we close it in 10 days, and to make the battle like we have a fast transaction, guys, there's a bigger amount of time that you can save for families. When it comes to money, the mortgage industry is pretty transactional. That, oh, our rate's an eighth lower, so we're saving you $26 a month, or it's all about savings transactionally, and then it's really improving lives. And I think one of my missions, and the Mortgage Coach mission is, we want to help people achieve their financial freedom point faster. We want people to achieve financial freedom faster, and I think like our best customers and our best loan officers, they're doing this. Like when a family comes to them to get a loan, they're showing that family how to pay off their home 10 years earlier and achieve financial freedom faster. So I just push you guys to think about, I don't know, however many loans you did last year, whether you're a loan officer or a lender, what percentage of those families got savings and lifestyle value beyond the transaction? So anything else on that trend before we go into the last chapter and hit opportunities?
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, and what you're getting at is it's traditionally been very transactional, which the same trend has occurred in many other industries, right? I mean, you can literally go to, I'll give you an example of a client we had in the ad tech days, and that is Kraft, right? And so Kraft was extremely transactional. They put stuff on the supermarket shelf. People bought it. They weren't even sure who was buying their stuff. And then hopefully maybe they'll buy more or not, but you're constantly trying to get more and more people in the grocery store to go buy your stuff. And then Kraft started to realize, well, we can add more value to consumers' lives. They created a recipe site, and they started having people sign up, and they started to understand what people were cooking and provide them with more information to help them cook healthier and help them cook faster and help them save time. And all of a sudden, their sales for a lot of these products started to shoot through the roof. And they also had access to a whole bunch of data on these customers that they never had before to allow them to create a longer term relationship. That's a totally different industry, but it's the exact example of what needs to occur here in the mortgage industry as well.
Well, Rich, I hope this is the last time I interview you, and I'm going to throw a challenge out to you. I love stories outside well, I don't love them. Our industry loves them, especially the leaders in our industry. When we can hear how a brand outside of our space leverage tech, leverage the thought of creating more value for the consumer in a way that's valuable to us, we love that. So try to think of another brand or another story that you think, what can lenders learn from Kraft? What can lenders learn from Google? I don't know. Think of another story for the next interview.
Sure. I've got tons of them. So
all right.
I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, good. So let's close it out with opportunities. And I want at least 3, but if you want to start with one, like what are some of the opportunities that you think this data, these trends create for lenders and loan officers?
Well, there's no question that having data can allow you to, start to understand your consumer or your customer better, right? And so that can lead to a whole bunch of additional things, right? I mean, as we talked about right now, very transactional focus. I think you have shared some data in the past. I don't know if it was today, but in certainly other YouTube things that I've watched for you, where you've talked about how there's a very, very high percentage of borrowers who change every single time they do a loan, every single time they do a refi to a new mortgage lender, right? So if you can try to understand what that borrower is interested in, what's going on in their life a little bit better, your chance of having a longer term relationship just goes up dramatically. And by the way, it doesn't need to be massive breakthrough information. It can be often very simple information, but the important thing is, how do you collect that information? How do you put it in a place so that you can actually draw insights from it? And then once you have those insights, actually take action on them, right? How do you make it easy to take action and send a message to the borrower that resonates with them? So I know I just talked about a bunch of different opportunities there, but having the data is just one piece. It's then how do you then take advantage of the data and then take action on it and integrate that into your existing systems or use a new system.
Beautiful. So two opportunities there, one, have the data, and then two, how do you take action on it?
Yeah.
What's another opportunity in your mind for lenders and loan officers?
I think another huge opportunity, which Mortgage Coach has been going after for a long time, and it really resonates with me because every time I've done a house purchase, every time I've done a refinance, I've created my own spreadsheet where I'm comparing all these different options together, right? So I've lived this myself, and I think making it easier for people, right? This is a big trend where once you understand your consumer better and you understand the pain points, you understand what their concerns are, then you can start to use that data to create solution paths for your customer, and you can make things easier for them. One thing might be, hey, most people don't understand the variety of loan options available to them, right? That might be an example. And that may be a direction you go. Or maybe people just want super, super simple. They want to understand what is the best option for them. And you can use the data to start to present it in that way. So I think understanding your customer and having that really inform how you want to engage with them to address their pain points is huge.
So guys, I have shown a couple of these slides on some of my recent interviews, and I am sure this is going to show up at some point in the article, but I want to share it in a different way because Rich said some things that just got me to think of this differently. Usually when I show this slide, I say something to the effect that this is what most lenders' data looks, or customer database looks like. This is what most realtors. But I also want you guys, the combination of data and action. And so I mean, literally 90% of lenders in America, loan officers, and 99% of realtors, that this is what they know. And now I have shared this before, but I think in the context of this conversation, I want to share it in a different way. That, guys, this is what Rocket, this is what Zillow, this is what all the top consumer brands in America database looks like. But the mortgage industry, is behind this. Most loan officers are behind this. Most lenders are behind this. And it can change. But I want to push it one step further because we got a lot of folks using Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach. We got 272 lenders. And I want everybody to start thinking, what action are you taking on that? Start not just go beyond alerts. It's like, okay, how many alerts did you get? But how many alerts turned to consumer value? Like your loan officer followed up. You created a presentation to educate that consumer. Like what percentage of the data you have actually creates value? Because at the end of the day, if you're going to turn this market into a competitive advantage, and that's the other thing you can't do. You can't just say, oh, I have data trigger alerts. You got to say, hey, do I have borrower intelligence? And do I have all the borrower intelligence based off of credit data? Do I have it based off of equity data? This is a list right here. I would push anyone. If you're a loan officer, I would ask you to look at this and go, how many of these alerts are you getting? And then how many of these alerts are you consistently following up with every day, every week, every month? And are you making sure that that alert comes with a digital presentation so that that family is actually getting the insights? You keep saying data and insights. So I think in this conversation, guys, this is anybody from outside the industry that knows data, knows presentations, like they look at our industry, they're just like assuming that everybody has data and they have digital insights, but we don't. So Rich, any other things you want to share? I mean, I want to go into wrap up mode, but anything you want to comment on that or any closing thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you talked a lot about Rocket's database, Zillow's database, and some of the insights that they can provide. And then I think that next step is, okay, then what are you going to do with the insight? Like thinking through, okay, you've got this particular alert. You may even have a total cost analysis that you can present to someone, but how are you going to present it? What communication channel are you going to use and why? What are you going to do to actually have this resonate with someone in the best possible way, so that you have the best possible chance of an actual positive response and helping somebody?
Well, I am looking forward to doing a lot more of things like this together and interviewing again, hearing some stories of how companies have innovated using data and insights. I am dedicated to turning loan officers and lenders into the single most valuable advisors to consumers. Like, I think we are better positioned than realtors. I think we are better positioned than CPAs, financial planners. I think the mortgage industry can literally change all this for consumers. Any comments on that before we close out?
No, I completely agree. And I think, being digital forward, we talked about not only data analytics and insights, but also then communicating with your customer on a channel that they want to communicate on. So all those different things could have huge lift.
Yeah, omni-channel, guys, making sure that you've got text, email. So hopefully you got value. Give this a like if you got value from it. Share it with your mortgage friends, loan officers, share it with your executive team. And Rich, I'm looking forward to the next time.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay.